First Contact Fury. The Myriad Collective's flagship, Eternal Dominion, slid silently through the void, its massive frame eclipsing the distant sun of a previously uncatalogued solar system. Admiral Krex stood on the command deck, his four arms folded behind his back as his compound eyes studied the blue-green world displayed on the central view screen. Another primitive world ripe for harvesting. He chittered, mandibles clicking with anticipation. Preliminary scans. Science Officer Zrel approached with a data tablet, her translucent wings folded tightly against her slender frame. The inhabitants call it Earth, Admiral. Technology level, pre-FTL. Military capabilities, minimal. Population, approximately 8 billion. They appear to be in the early stages of global unification, still dealing with internal conflicts and environmental damage. Krex's mouthparts shifted into what his species considered a smile. Perfect. Prepare the vanguard. Standard invasion protocol. Communication disruption, infrastructure collapse, followed by ground forces to secure population centers. Admiral. Zrel hesitated. We're detecting unusual energy signatures from some of their military installations. Nothing we've encountered before. Irrelevant. Krex dismissed her concern with a wave. Probably nuclear weapons. Primitive and easy to neutralize. Begin the operation. The collective had conquered 17 star systems in the last cycle. Their strategy was flawless, refined through centuries of expansion. No pre-FTL civilization had ever mounted significant resistance. Earth would be no different. 24 hours later, Admiral Krex was no longer certain of anything. What do you mean total communications failure? He roared at his tactical officer. We knocked out their satellites. Their planetary network should be in chaos. The tactical officer's skin paled to a sickly yellow. They've adapted, sir. They've repurposed old technology, something called radio, and established new communications networks. Their response times are accelerating, not decreasing. On the main screen, reports scrolled endlessly. Dropships destroyed. Scout parties ambushed. Supply chains disrupted. The casualty numbers were impossible. How are they coordinating without central command? Krex demanded. We took out their military headquarters in the first strike. That's just it, sir, said Zrel, her voice quiet with disbelief. They're not coordinating. At least, not in any way we understand. Each human settlement appears to be organizing its own defense. Independently. Spontaneously. The Admiral slammed his fist against the console. Impossible. No species fights effectively without hierarchical command. A communications officer interrupted. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the surface. It's being broadcast on all frequencies in our own language. The screen flickered, showing the human female. Her face was smudged with dirt and what appeared to be blood, but her eyes burned with an intensity that made even Krex uncomfortable. This is Dr. Sarah Chen of Earth, she said, her voice steady. You've made a terrible mistake. What you're seeing now. This is not our military. These are our teachers, our farmers, our doctors, and our children. You attacked our homes, so we're defending them. We suggest you leave before we get actually angry. Krex laughed, the sound echoing across the command deck. They're bluffing. Intensify the orbital bombardment. Target their largest population centers. 12 hours later, 3 collective warships had been destroyed by makeshift missiles launched from Earth's surface. Somehow, the humans had reprogrammed their weather satellites to track collective ship movements. Ground forces reported being overwhelmed by civilians, using improvised weapons and tactics that changed faster than collective intelligence could analyze them. Commander Valara, leader of the ground assault on the region called North America, had been captured. Her captors hadn't executed her as expected. Instead, they'd shown her something. When she was released, deliberately, with her communications gear intact, she transmitted directly to the Eternal Dominion. Admiral, her voice was shaking, you need to withdraw immediately. Explain yourself, Commander, Krex growled. They wanted me to see, Valera continued. They took me to an old military facility, empty, abandoned decades ago. They showed me records, Admiral. Earth has no unified military because they dismantled it after almost destroying themselves in something they call the Cold War. What we're fighting, these are just civilians with outdated equipment. Then we should be winning. Krex shouted. No, sir, you don't understand. Valera's voice dropped to a whisper. They dismantled their military because they feared what they had created. The weapons they showed me, sir, they've been holding back. Deliberately. Krex was about to respond when alarms blared across the command deck. Multiple objects emerging from the dark side of the planet's moon. The sensor officer reported, panic evident in his voice. Identify. Krex demanded. Unknown design. No energy signatures we recognize. But sir, there are hundreds of them, and they're moving faster than anything in our fleet. On a small island nation called Japan, retired General Takeshi Yamamoto watched the night sky light up with the silent explosions of collective ships. He sighed, putting down his cup of tea as his secure phone vibrated. It's time, he asked simply. Yes, General, came the reply. Protocol Sleeping Giant has been initiated. All 7 Vanguard fleets have launched. Yamamoto nodded, though no one could see him. They never should have attacked civilian targets. The Council had almost voted for peaceful contact. Too late for that now. Yes, Yamamoto agreed. Much too late. The Vanguard has been dormant for 50 years. They're going to be angry. In orbit, Admiral Krex watched in horror as sleek black ships, bearing no markings or identifiable propulsion systems, swarmed his fleet. They moved in patterns no collective tactician had ever seen, striking with weapons that seemed to ignore their shields entirely. What is happening? He demanded of no one in particular. Zrel, whose species could access ancestral memories, suddenly froze. Her wings began to vibrate in terror. Sir, she whispered, I recognize these ships from our oldest records. They matched the description of the destroyers that annihilated the 7th Expansion Fleet 300 cycles ago. In a system we never identified. That's impossible, Krex said. That fleet was our most powerful. The official record states it was lost to a supernova. The official record was altered, Zrel replied, because the truth was too frightening to acknowledge. On his private command channel, Krex received a transmission from an unknown source. A human male appeared, wearing a simple black uniform with no insignia. This is Captain James Chen of Earth Vanguard Fleet, the human said calmly. You have exactly 1 hour to withdraw all forces and leave this system. After that, we will begin actual combat operations. You dare threaten the Myriad Collective? Krex sputtered. We have conquered galaxies. The human's expression didn't change. No, Admiral. You've conquered pre-FTL civilizations that weren't us. We've been watching your expansion for decades. Earth is not some random planet you stumbled upon. It's a trap, and you walked right into it. As the transmission ended, Krex felt cold fear wash over him. He turned to his second-in-command. Prepare for emergency jump, all ships. Retreat pattern Sigma. But sir, our ground forces. Leave them. We need to warn the Collective Council. As the Eternal Dominion fled the Earth system, trailing plasma from multiple hull breaches, Admiral Krex couldn't shake the human's final words. We'll be watching, Admiral. And next time, we won't wait for you to fire first. The Hidden Vanguard. The Collective Council chamber on Nith Prime fell silent as Admiral Krex finished his report. 17 of the 20 council members were physically present. The remaining 3 attended via secure quantum projection, their forms slightly translucent in the dim light. Impossible, High Counselor Vex finally said, his massive frame rising from the central days. No pre-FTL civilization could repel a full invasion fleet. The data is conclusive, Krex replied, his voice hollow with exhaustion. Earth is not what we thought it was. Their visible technology was a facade. Science counselor Trill, whose species specialized in intelligence analysis, manipulated the holographic display with her tendrils. The images of Earth's mysterious black ships rotated above the council table. "These vessels incorporate technology we've never encountered," she said. "Their propulsion system appears to bend space-time without traditional warp signatures. Their weapons," she hesitated, "we still don't understand how they penetrated our most advanced shields. Perhaps most disturbing," Krex continued, "is what we learned from the few ground troops we managed to extract. The humans they encountered seemed genuinely surprised by the invasion. Their initial resistance was improvised, uncoordinated. It was only after we escalated to orbital bombardment that these," he gestured at the holographic ships, "emerged." "A trap, then," rumbled War Counselor Drax, his scaled hide flushing with anger. "They baited us." Security Counselor Mira, whose species could detect falsehoods, studied Krex carefully. "You're withholding something, Admiral." Krex's mandibles twitched in discomfort. "Before our retreat, we intercepted communications between Earth's hidden fleet and their ground forces. They referred to Earth as," he paused, "as an outpost." The council chamber erupted in alarmed chittering and rumbling. "An outpost of what?" demanded Vex. "Unknown," Krex admitted, "but they spoke of a Terran confederation spanning multiple systems. Systems that, according to our star charts, should be uninhabited or unexplored. On Earth, in a facility 2 kilometers beneath the Mariana Trench, Fleet Admiral Helena Rodriguez stood before the Vanguard Command Council. Unlike the ostentatious chamber of the Collective, this room was Spartan, utilitarian, a simple round table with 12 seats, currently occupied by the leaders of Earth's hidden defense force. The sleeping giant protocol was executed flawlessly, Rodriguez reported. Vanguard fleets 1 through 7 deployed within 3 minutes of authorization. Collective casualties: 43 ships destroyed, 17 critically damaged. Our losses: minimal. 2 scout ships, no personnel. General Ibrahim Chen, head of Vanguard Ground Forces, spoke next. Civilian casualties were higher than acceptable. 17 million dead before we could fully deploy. If we had activated at first contact instead of waiting. The Council voted to observe, interrupted Dr. Eliza Okonkwo, head of Xenobiology. We needed to understand their tactics, their biology, their weaknesses. The information we've gathered will be invaluable when we face the main collective force. And make no mistake, said Admiral Rodriguez grimly, they will return. This was just a reconnaissance fleet, testing our defenses. The oldest person at the table, Director Weizong of Intelligence, cleared his throat. The real question is whether we've exposed too much. For 50 years, we've maintained the illusion that Earth is just another pre-FTL civilization. Now they know differently. Perhaps it's time, said General Sofia Petrov, her weathered face solemn. The Confederation has been monitoring the Collective's expansion for generations. 17 civilizations obliterated because we chose not to intervene, because we prioritized our secrecy over their lives. Rodriguez sighed. That's not our decision to make. The Confederation Council will decide our next move. In the meantime, we maintain defensive posture and begin Phase 2 preparations. Across the room, screens displayed real-time data from Vanguard outposts throughout the solar system and beyond. The massive shipyards hidden within Jupiter's storm systems, the quantum communication arrays on Pluto, the antimatter production facilities beneath the surface of Venus. For 2 centuries, Earth had presented itself to the galaxy as a divided, primitive world struggling with its own problems. Meanwhile, the Terran Confederation had spread to 37 star systems, all carefully selected to avoid detection by the various galactic powers. What about the prisoners? Asked Chen. Standard protocol, Rodriguez replied. Limited memory modification and return to the Collective. They'll remember a desperate battle against primitive but numerous humans. They'll remember retreat, They won't remember our ships clearly or any indication of advanced technology. Will it be enough? Zhang wondered aloud. No one answered. 6 months later, Admiral Krex found himself demoted to captain and assigned to a small outpost on the edge of collective space. His warnings about Earth had been officially dismissed as exaggeration to cover his failure. Unofficially, the collective was quietly redirecting research resources toward analyzing the limited data they had on Earth's mysterious defenders. Krex was reviewing security protocols when his private terminal chimed. The message bore no identification, and when he opened it, his blood ran cold. It contained only a simple image, an exact replica of his private quarters on Nith Prime, taken from inside, with a note in perfect collective script. We could have taken your homeworld instead. Remember that when they send you back to Earth. At that exact moment, across collective space, 317 high-ranking military officers and scientists received identical messages. On Earth, Director Zhang smiled thinly as his operation concluded. Message delivered, he reported to Rodriguez. Phase 2 has begun. Rodriguez nodded. The collective thinks they discovered a single defended world. Let them prepare for that. When they return, they'll discover they've awakened something far worse. Is it wise to provoke them? Zhang asked. The Confederation Council advocated a measured response. They haven't seen what I saw, Rodriguez replied, her eyes hardening. I watched 17 million civilians die while we waited for authorization to deploy. Next time, we don't wait. Next time, we strike first. In the darkness between stars, Vanguard ships moved silently into position around key collective worlds. Not to attack, not yet, but to watch, to gather intelligence, to prepare. The humans had a saying from their ancient history, Si vis pacem, parabellum. If you want peace, prepare for war. The collective had unwittingly started something they couldn't finish. They had attacked Earth, believing it to be a primitive, isolated world. They would eventually learn the terrifying truth. Earth wasn't isolated. It wasn't primitive. It wasn't even the Terran Confederation's most important world. It was just the first line of defense, and it was no longer interested in remaining hidden.